welcome to this fun stream where we're gonna have fun and it's gonna be a stream. It's a fun stream. My name is Marie-Ève. Actually, it's Marie-Ève because it's a French name. And people also know me by the letter Z because I do fun tutorials on the interwebs. And I am here today with a lovely guest, and it is Diogo, who is going to introduce himself to you guys. Yay!
Oh, hello. I'm Diogo Almeida, also known as DGO Sart. I'm a 2D animator, character animator / cleanup artist. And thanks for the invite. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are we going to talk about today? We are going to talk about the fundamentals of animation. And in fundamentals, there is fun. So we're going to have fun doing it. Because some people think that animation is just one drawing, another drawing, and more drawings in betweens, which is kind of true, but not quite as well. There's a lot of little rules to learn. So if you're someone who just want a little refresher, or if you're someone who has no idea how to animate, this stream is for you.
Yeah. So there are principles of animation that in the old days, the big old guys invented or discovered because they work and they were kind enough to write about them and pass to the young generations.
Yeah, and the fun thing is that if you know animation and stuff, this stream is still useful because if you ever need to teach the fundamentals to someone, it's going to be fun to have two new point of views on them. And the most important thing also is that these quote-unquote 12 principles of animation has been kind of written a while ago, and some things evolve. Some things are not the same as they were in the past. Like in the broad lines, it's similar, but there is a lot of new tools and new things to add to these principles. So it's going to be fun to explore that together today. Yay.
Yeah.
It's subtle little difference, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything else to add before we dive in?
Well, don't forget that the principles were invented when they were doing animation in paper. So right now, because everything is digital, things are different. I wouldn't say easier because there's still some level of knowledge.
Like the challenges are not the same.
Yeah. So it makes sense that the principles may change or bend in a little way.
And as usual, we will be answering questions in the chat, so feel free to write the questions that you have in your mind. And eventually I will read them and answer them. If I don't answer them right away, it's because we're trying to keep the flow like fun as we go. But yeah, so we will get to it eventually, so don't worry. And yeah, so there's a YouTube stream and the Twitch stream. So if you see that I'm answering a question, you're like, this question wasn't asked. It was probably asked on the other stream, okay? So yeah, we're going to try to bounce off these.
We're all over the internet.
Yeah, we're all over the internet. We're everywhere. Okay, so yeah, let's get started with this. What are you doing? Who is that character?
This character is called Rocky. It's from Like a Daisy, a comic that has been adapted to a short film that it's actually a pilot. And
yeah, I'm posting the link right now in the chat, by the way. Go check it out.
It's one of my favorite characters, and I'm animating a head turn. And I'm following some principles that are important to make this animation work. I'm going to talk about timing, arcs, squash and stretch, and easy in and easy out. So yeah,
Would you say a head turn is a great exercise to learn some principles of animation?
It is.
Yeah. It is, like, honestly, people, it is one of the best exercise you can do to learn the principles, because you're gonna get like the arcs. You have to maintain the volumes, and it's not an exercise that you should do with an onion skin on at all time. It's better to flip. But this is something we will discuss as we go. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, go. The floor is yours.
Oh, okay. Oh God, I didn't prepare for this.
Oh, okay. Well, I can still
No.
talk and
I
say
got this.
things.
I got this. So
What is the first principle you're going to talk to us about?
I'm gonna talk about squash and stretch, because
Ooh.
squash and stretch is it's a principle that helps the viewer understand what's happening in the screen, and you cannot confuse squash and stretch with changing the volume of a character, because even though squash and stretch, you mold the outline of, for example, a character or a ball, the volume should always be the same.
Can we get an example with a bouncing ball? Because I don't
Of
get it.
course.
What is a stretch and squash? I'm so confused. I don't know what animation is.
So
I've only been an animator for 10, I don't know how many years. I think 15.
okay. So for example, in a
13
bouncing
years.
ball, because of gravity, the ball, when he gains momentum, it will stretch to help the viewer understand that there's velocity. And when he hits the ground, it shouldn't be the same because there's a force applied to it. So
Oh, that makes sense.
it should obey that force. And depending on the material, the ball will bend more or less. For example, if it's a bowling ball, it won't have as much as squash and stretch as, for example, a tennis ball or even a balloon. So yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
And squash and stretch also helps us understand the material of the object. If it's rigid, it won't bend or squash or stretch as much as if it's, for example, flesh or a muscle. So it's a very
So what you
good
mean,
principle.
if it's a bowling ball that's bouncing, it's going to kind of usually remain more or less spherical. But if it's a blob that's bouncing, it can stretch like an elastic band. Whoa, so useful.
Exactly. So yeah, that's squash and stretch. And in this character, I'm gonna squash the head on the middle because it's gonna move towards the screen right. And he's applying a force. I mean, gravity is applying a force when it's going down because, yeah, it just makes sense for me.
It also
Also,
makes pretty arcs when we do that. Yeah.
oh yeah, but that's another thing.
I know, spoilers.
Spoiler. Okay. Also, so the character goes down on this pose, and when it's going up, this, I'm gonna turn on the onion skin so you guys can see it. When it's going up, it's gonna stretch to fit this arc. This is terrible. I am an animator, I swear.
Let's go. But it's okay that it looks rough at first. It should look weird at first, people. Don't worry.
Mm-hmm. It's all about layers. Like an onion.
Like an onion. Oh no, Shrek got to us.
So yeah,
I think that's a universal animator thing. You cannot talk about layers without mentioning onions. I think we're stained for life. Oh, Shrek.
it also helps the viewer understand the speed of the character. But now we're entering in the smears part. If it's too fast, maybe it will change volume to help the viewer. Yeah. The next principle I want to talk about, it's arcs. And as you can see here, I drew a little arc to guide my animation. And why is arcs important? Arcs are important because everything that we see that it's organic moves in arcs. They can be subtle and very unnoticeable, but it's always in arcs. And if the animation it's not in an arc, it will look robotic. And you only see that in, for example, robots.
I mean, yeah. But even robots can have arcs in their joints.
True. For example, if I want to move, let's say that this is a little robot M1. Yeah, it's M1. And it's going to move from here here. Okay. It's going to move to screen right. He'll do, because it's a robot, he'll do a movement without an arc. But even his antenna will have a different movement. For example, if I want to make the drawing in the middle, the antenna won't be in the middle because it's not with the same material as the rest of the body. Ooh, what's happening? Okay. The antenna will move in an arc. It's gonna look like a weird S. What happened? Okay. It's gonna go down and up. And all these principles are connected. Yes, connected. That's what I want to say. Because this also is the principle of follow through. And the principle of follow through is that when there's an action, there are some parts of the object that will move faster, or that will move slower because the force will affect them after the movement begins. And for the antenna, what happened is that the antenna will bend before the antenna will bend and will follow the main force, that is the wheels and the motor. You want to add? See?
No, I think that's pretty good. Because it drags behind, and yeah, I think that works.
Okay, and
I mean, we're gonna talk about the settling and the overshoot and stuff, but that's for later.
that's what I'm gonna say. Yeah.
Quick, 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 quick.
Quick, quick, quick. Okay. Also, because there's a thing called momentum, the momentum, and it's the force of the movement, the momentum. It won't stop right away. You need to lose energy, and that's what happens when the M1, it will reach the end. But the antenna, because it's carrying also speed, it will, actually I can do this, like this. The antenna will overshoot final voltage here, because there's some energy that needs to be released before coming to its original form. And we see a lot of that, for example, in hair or clothes. That, for example, when you have a sleeve, by the way, a cool thing about Harmony is that you can draw outside of the canvas, and I love this. For example, when you have a sleeve, yeah, if you,
Looking good.
when you do the movement up and you stop the arm, the sleeve, because it won't stop right away, will go up, and then it will go down. It will go down. So yeah, it will overshoot his position to explain that it's a different object attached to the primary object. Are any questions on the chat?
I'm checking right now. It just keeps. There's a lot of emojis. No, it's just people sharing their. Oh, a question just appeared. What if you have trouble finding the timing of the secondary you're trying to achieve? Oh, that's a good question.
That's a very good question.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many answers we can give, but one of the answers I can give is depending what it is. If I know a good exercise to do it first is to try to animate like clothing. So if you have trouble finding the timing of the secondary action you're trying to achieve, like if you have like a dress and then you're walking and then you want to see what the secondary action of a dress as you walk would be, find references. References is amazing. But yeah. What is your take on it, Diogo?
Okay. My take on it is try to understand what material you're dealing with.
Oh yeah.
And study that material. Because, for example, hair will not behave the same way as clothes, and also clothes won't behave the same way as, for example,
like a t-shirt will not react the same way as a leather jacket. Like leather
As a
and
carpet,
fabric are
for
two different
example.
things. Oh yeah, carpet is a good one.
Yeah, try to understand the material. If needed, of course, shoot references, because you can always
Or
learn
find
something
references.
more. Yeah, find references or shoot references. And yeah, that's my take on it. Understand what you're dealing with and add it to your mental library.
Yeah, and an advice I can give too is just just do it. Like sometimes we overthink an animation, like, oh, how will the carpet move, how would the dress right, and we overthink it and we don't do it. But like, I like to say that it takes 100 bad drawings to get a good one. So get all these bad takes on it out as fast as you can, and eventually you're gonna get it. But like, being an animator, like it's not a one hit wonder. Like you have to try things, and things are gonna look bad, and it's fine. It's a journey. Yeah.
Also, another advice is, of course, try it and ask for a person that doesn't understand
Oh,
animation to describe it. Like, what
that is
material is
good.
this? But yeah,
Yeah, these are good advice. And on the YouTube side, we don't have any questions. So
people are just
yeah,
enjoying and vibing. Nice.
people are just happy, and they're like, "Oh, that's a very good lecture," and people are happy. Woo! By the way, we're almost halfway through the time. I'm just
Oh
saying,
no.
things are going so
We
fast.
need.
But it's okay. If anything, we can do a part 2 one day.
Okay, now we can talk about spacing and slow ins and slow outs.
Oh, and by the way, I didn't say we're halfway to stress you or anything. Like honestly, there's 12 principles, and we're not going to see all 12 of them today. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe, but like if we don't, it's totally fine.
I mean, I can say them, but I cannot explain them in just 1 hour.
Yeah. Usually, guys, it takes a whole semester of animation to master some of them. So, you know.
Okay,
All right,
so
go on.
timing or slow ins and slow outs. I prefer this little arc, and if we take this arc and try to unfold it, it will look like the one that we have on the right. So, in the real world, things don't just start moving at the final speed, except if it's, for example, a bullet or a cannon. There's always a space or a time that things need to accelerate and decelerate. That's why slow-ins and slow-outs are very interesting. For example, in this animation, the head of Rocky won't start just moving. Later, I'm gonna draw, because I mean, I can draw it right now. So in the arc, I placed the middle drawing, the initial drawing, and the drawing to indicate that it's gonna accelerate the movement, which is, I decided it's a third of the time, of the space. So if the frames are constant, they are in twos, it's gonna say that in the first frame, the first drawing, the position of the head will be here. On the next drawing, which is on frame 3, the head will be closer to 1. And on frame 5, the head will be all the way to the middle. So we're jumping from 2 frames to another 2 frames. And the space of the drawings, it's getting larger, which means that it's getting faster. So that's a slow out, because we're slowly getting out of the initial position, which is 1. And on the other side, we're also getting a slow in using the same principle. So in frame 7, the drawing will be in the middle of the final pose, and the middle pose, it will be in the middle. On the frame 9 will be also closer to the final position, and in the final position, which is frame 11, it will be the final position. So we're getting a slow in and slow out with more frames, with more drawings on the final, on the second half of the movement. Why is this important? Because we want to create diversity. If it just...
Diversity is key.
Yeah, it's appealing. If we unfold this is interesting. There's more drawings on the end, so the reader can understand what's happening, and less drawings in the beginning. But if we also hint, what is it called? Got them. An anticipation frame, that's on the frame 3. God damn it, poor English.
We are doing our best.
Yep. We give the viewer a nice experience, understanding that, okay, he's looking to the screen left, there's something on frame 3, and we jump to the second part of the action, giving the viewer time to understand what happened. Yeah. You can also do this, which is cutting things in the middle, but it won't be as appealing as on the first one. So appeal is a very important thing in animation. It's what makes the viewers glue their eyes to the screen to understand it.
And this is where like some things kind of change, because if you have an old animation book and it talks about like the principle of animation, appeal back in the days, the way the 9 old men would explain it often would be like, make your character pretty, like have girls have big eyes and small waists and stuff. Like this is not what appeal is about. Like it's so much more. It's so much more than giving, because also they would say give baby face features to your character. Like it's not just that. Like there's so many subtleties in it, and it's a very interesting principle to study in your exercises.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's great. Oh, I think we have some questions.
Yes.
How Kian Eve asks, how does timing affect animation? That's a very, very wide question, but maybe we can give like a few pointers. Because timing is animation. Like there's no animation without timing. So it affects in so many ways. It can show emotion, it can show speed and expressions. Like it's a big thing. What do you think?
I think that timing is animation, of course, because we're doing drawings, and because we're using time to our advantage, we can make them move. So timing is animation. But if we master time, we can make a lot of things. We can show if the object that we're animating is heavy, or if it's light. We can God, that's a wide question. we can make the audience bored or excited to what they're seeing. We can also guide the audience eyes throughout timing. For example, if we have two characters and one character is talking, we have a specific time that the other stays put, so we can guide the audience. Timing, it's animation, and it's important to master it and to understand the art of animation. That's a wide question. Good job.
Yeah. Okay, and there's another one. Madhub says, you said there's a distance of 2/3 between frame 3 and 5 compared to a distance of 1/3 between frame 1 and 3. Is this distance created by the distance of the moving thing? Or what do you mean by that? I think I know, but like, did you get the question? Okay, basically, I think yeah, it's a bit confusing. So I think what they're asking is like, where do we get the third and the 2/3? Like, why? Like, why do we use 1/3 or 2/3? Like, how do we know? Like, why between frame 3 and 5 is it 2/3 of a distance, and why in the first frame it's just 1/3 of the distance? And this is to create speed, my friend. Because if things were just all equal, it would be linear and boring. But I think Diogo can just explain that better than me, because you have the screen.
Okay. So I'm gonna simplify my character and
time charts.
Of course, there's the time chart. I'm gonna use it here.
Also called spacing charts nowadays. Animation evolves.
Yeah. So we have point A, point B, and we have here, frame 1, frame 3, and frame 5. So why did I choose a third over a middle one or over a 2/3? To indicate acceleration. And why is it a third and not something that I invented? For example, could be very close, but right, if it's very close to the pose on frame 1, it's just a hint. We slightly move the character. I want the viewer to see it more like a beginning of a movement, not just a very steep start. Because the closer you draw the third frame to the frame 1, to the beginning of the animation, the more quick, or the more space the character has to travel.
Less time. No.
In the same time. In the same amount of time.
Sorry.
So if I draw a ball here, I already have animation here, so let's go to the bottom. Okay, so if I draw a ball here, and final ball here, this will be my frame 5, and this will be 1. In the middle, this will be the middle, but we don't want the ball here. I want it on a third to express acceleration. If it was 2/3 of it, I would be decelerating, because on the same amount of time, the ball moves this this much space on one frame, and on one drawing, sorry, and on the other drawing it moves this one. So it's less space, which is less movement, less speed. Yeah, since I want to show acceleration, I'm gonna choose a third. It's not a rule that you need to choose a third, but
It just helps.
It helps, yeah.
Like it usually works well, so we just do that.
So yeah, on the first changing of drawing, there's this space, and on the other, there's this much. That's why it's called a spacing chart, because we're spacing the object or the character throughout time, and it helps us to visualize what kind of movement we want. I hope this answers the question. Also, if I wanted to hint, like if it's a very it's a very quick start, very, very quick start, I would hint, for example, this much. But if I hint this much, the viewer will have some trouble understanding what happened. Because the viewer's eyes right now are on this side, and all of a sudden it's all over here. So for this, sometimes it's hard to don't lose the viewer's attention. So we do something called smear.
Oh, these are the best.
These are the best.
You can make car smears. There are smears that are shaped like cars. I also sometimes do building smears. They're smears, but they look like buildings with lots of windows.
For example,
I'll elaborate later.
I get it. If the distance that you need to cover it's too fast, for example, if it moves from one part of the screen to another, that's what happens here. Smears help the viewer to understand what happened, so they don't lose the focus on the scene. And for example,
because sometimes you don't have enough frames for the action, and you cannot just create time. We're not time lords.
Let's see. Should I go? Yeah, let's go for the car smear. And smears can be very interesting, and that's the thing that breaks the volume. Because this wall, doesn't have the same volume as the smear, because the smear, it's like a crutch to the viewer to understand what happens. So it doesn't count. Now, if I color the same, and if I turn off the onion skin, the viewer will understand that the ball quickly moves from the screen left side to the right screen left side. To the screen right side. Got them. Yeah. That's smears. What else can I cover? You got any more questions?
Someone asked, do you have any tips for paperless workflow, like timeline management, or any other tricks that you have learned from previous productions? I actually made a video about that I will link into the chat, but the floor is yours if you have any tips to give.
Can you say that again?
Do you have
Yes.
do you have any tips for paperless workflow, like timeline management or any tricks you have learned from previous productions?
Yes. So, time management. It's important to.
Timeline management. Like the timeline, the thing.
Oh, the timeline. Okay. Mark your keys, mark your breakdowns, and use the features of Toon Boom.
What features?
For paperless animation, there's this buttons here on the top. Wait. These buttons here on the top, and also on the onion skin, which are flip keys, flip only the keys, this one, flip the breakdowns, in-betweens, and the redraw and others. What this does is, for example, we have here Rocky, and this drawing is marked as a key, so it's a red drawing. If I want to say that this is now a breakdown, it's a drawing that happens between two keys. For example, on my time chart, that would be time chart. Okay. The time chart, the drawing A will be a key, and the drawing B will be also a key, and the drawing in the middle, I say that it's a breakdown. So, in Rocky's case, this is a key, this is another key, and this is a breakdown. I marked it as a blue one.
And by the way, folks, the way we identify time charts or spacing charts or your animation in general will change from studios to studios and from countries to countries. It is an art form of its own, and nobody agrees on how to do them. So the more versions you learn, the better, because each little way to do the time charts have some disadvantage and advantages. Just so you know.
Mm-hmm. So I have drawings in the middle that I don't want to see. I have two of these remake in-betweens that I don't want to see. So I use the features of Toon Boom to help me on my process by saying that I only want to flip the keys and the breakdowns. So I select these two, and if you don't see them, you can just right-click on an empty space, and it's here on flip. I'm going to select them. There you go, flip. And the ones on the right are marked as marked drawings. That's their name. So I select both of them, and I now, using the key that you select from moving to next drawing and move to previous drawing, I can only flip between keys and breakdowns. And that helps me a lot when I have lots of drawings in between and I only want to see the keys and breakdowns, or only the keys, or only the in-betweens. So yeah, it's cool. Do you have any tips, Marie-Ève?
No, I think you said all of them for that topic, but well, we have a question. How do you stay consistent with the volumes, shape, and perspective drawing? when you draw a new drawing. Sorry. So how do you stay consistent with the volume, shape, and perspective when you're making a new drawing in frame-by-frame animation? I struggle a lot keeping consistency with how my character is shaped and looks after doing a lot of movement.
You and me.
rough it, practice and construction, and yeah, we all struggle with it, but practice makes perfect.
Yeah. So the thing that I like to do is by following the pose-to-pose technique. Pose-to-pose technique is when you first draw your keys, you draw one key, you draw another key, and make sure that they're the same volume, and everything in the middle, in between those two keys, should be the same volume, because you need to flip through them. I think that the best way to keep the same volume is to flip your drawings. Understand if they're losing volume or gaining volume. You need to flip through them. That's my best advice. Flip, a lot of flip. Also, if you're not sure, for closer drawings, you can use the onion skin.
Yeah, the onion skin is great for like settling in very close drawings.
Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't advise the onion skin to use it a lot. You need to get used to flipping, because that's how animation works. You flip through the drawings. But yeah, onion skin can help on seeing if they're losing volume or not. Also, if you're working a lot on your animation, take a break outside of your screen. Go watch something on the window, and when you come back, you'll have a more refreshed view on the drawings that you made. So it's always helpful to take a break and step away from the computer. At least that's what I do. More questions?
Not really.
Okay. I can also talk in the last 10 minutes. I mean, it's 10 minutes, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Well, more like 9 minutes.
So, anticipation.
Yeah,
I can talk about the principle of anticipation. The principle of anticipation, it says that it helps the viewer to prepare. It's something that you do to prepare for the action that you're going to make, the main action. For example, on Rocky, it's going to do the head turn. I'm going to make him make his ear twitch, so the viewer understands that there's something happening on the screen right side, and then he's going to do the head turn and look at it. So I'm setting something to prepare for the main action, which is the head turn. It can also be, for example, a punch. When I'm going to draw a stick figure, because they always help.
Looking good.
When something is preparing for a punch, it's going to lean back and get the arm that is going to punch ready for the action. That's called anticipation. Also, if you're throwing a ball, that's actually better. You're throwing a ball now. Forget the punch. So It's supposed to prepare for the action. What else? I can talk about exaggeration. That's a good one. Exaggeration in the old days was to emphasize an emotion that you did. For example, if the character was sad, the principle says that you make them really sad. You make them very, very sad. To say to the viewer that this person is heartbroken.
Oh, so sad.
Yeah, and because this is a medium that you're free to do whatever you want, you can sometimes break the characters. What I mean by breaking the character is that you don't exactly follow the anatomy of the character or the model sheet. You can break the character to exaggerate and emphasize what you want to say. For example, if you want to make them crazy, well, I don't have it on the model sheet, so I'm going to be creative, and I'm going to break the character. For example, I'm going to make the eyes bigger. I'm going to change the size of the eyes. This is not on the character, and I'm breaking him.
Oh no.
But
he's got too much maple syrup.
but it helps the viewer understand that something happened to the character, for example. Maybe he drank too much maple syrup and now he's on the sugar rush. So exaggerate, since we're doing drawings, and also in 3D animation, you can exaggerate and break the model if it helps telling the emotion that you want to convey. So yeah, that's exaggeration on what I take it for. I like this drawing.
It's amazing. It's like a Picasso painting. Proportions are out of the place, but like the soul is there, the essence is there. Mm-hmm. Okay, what is a principle that you is there a principle that you struggled with more than another when you were, starting out or something?
Yes. When I was starting out, I struggled
when I was a kid.
When I was a little boy. Well, understanding the arcs, it's can be very difficult, because for example, a simple throwing the ball. Let's go back to the throwing the ball. I would draw the arc for the ball and for the head, but I didn't understood yet that everything moves in an arc. So it was hard for me to understand it, and I needed to practice a lot more. Also, the secondary actions. Secondary actions, it's a principle that says that there's your main action, and there's also the secondary action that doesn't distract the audience from the main thing that is happening, but it helps the character come to life. That's a principle that I'm still struggling with. Is that finding out what things that I can add to the main movement to make it more rich, but don't distract the audience from the main thing that I want them to see. That's a principle that it's very complex.
But it's a fun one.
It's a very fun one. That's why I love animation.
I think the best way to get good, and one of the best way to get good at this one, like to add like some subtle movement and whatnot, I think, is doing one of my favorite activities: sitting at a corner of a street and watching people. You have to observe people. It's fun, and it makes you go out of your house, which is very important when you animate. You cannot do everything at your computer. You have to live and see life. And what do you know? It's 4 p.m. almost, so we have to close this stream very soon. Oh my god! Do you have any last things to add, my friend?
I think that I had. You cannot improve in animation if you don't draw. Not just drawing animation and making exercise for animation, but also live drawings and observation drawings. These are very important. And also take a break and go outside and observe.
Touch grass.
Exactly. Touch grass. Because if you're always closed in the same compartment, you cannot create something that you already know. So you need to learn more and observe things outside to enrich your mental library of actions that you might animate in the future.
Yeah, that's a good point. And if any of you guys want to learn more about animation, you can check out the link that Toon Boom Animation posted in the chat. Sorry about that. What I wanted to say is that if you have any questions, or you can check out the links that we just posted, and if you want, almost every like Saturday or so on our lovely Discord server of the Shenanigan, I think, Diogo, you're hosting a cool activity every Saturday-ish, right?
It's every Sunday, yes.
Oh, Sunday. Sorry, every Sunday. Oh my god.
It's a 1 hour animation, and everybody is welcome to join.
I just posted the link, and you guys can feel free to join. So every weekend we did this activity, but if you're not available on the exact Sunday, you can still do it throughout the week, and we love to share and look at these submissions. So yeah, so many things to learn. Wow! And I wish everyone a wonderful day and a wonderful week and a wonderful time in general. I'm just waiting for you to finish writing. Oh, thank you, everyone. So with that, we have to say bye-bye.